The following review contains spoilers to the material that is being reviewed. Today I'm gonna watch Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And right now I have a decent expectation for this film. I'm thinking it's gonna be... I'm hoping it's gonna be better than The Force Awakens. I enjoyed Episode 7. So I'm really hoping, even though this is not one of the episodes, this is just a separate Star Wars story taking place in its universe, I hope I can say by the end of it that it's the best of the Star Wars prequels. I don't think it has that much competition for it to be the best of the Star Wars prequels. Already, I've heard it's good, and I haven't heard a lot. I'm going into it I've only seen the teaser trailer. The what will you become? I Rebel teaser trailer. That's all I've seen. I haven't seen any of the full trailers or anything. So I don't need to see the full trailers. I just need to see that teaser was done well. So I'm already pumped to go see the movie. The news of the reshoots or alternate scenes and takes and that kind of has me a little bit worried, because I mean, from what I've read, the first screening of the rough cut before they did the reshoots or whatever, the studio executives were like, this is too much like a war film. This feels like a war film, which actually makes me really laugh, because the name of the series is Star Wars. It's supposed to be wars in the sense of its title. So it made me laugh. I'm afraid of the reshoots, but I don't want it to worry or cloud my judgment, so I'm kind of trying to keep that in the back of my mind, like, far away as possible. But other than that, I don't think it's going to be bad. I hope it's not bad. I mean, I also want to point out that the only other thing I've watched Rogue One related before seeing Rogue One is Film Theory's Rogue One theory, and that is a very good theory, and I'm going into the movie not under the impression that will happen, but if it does happen, I'm gonna say, wow, they actually predicted before the movie release, and that would be really awesome if they did. I'll put a link in the description to that video if you haven't seen it or don't know what I'm talking about. It's a very good video and analysis of what could happen in Rogue One. Go check out that video. I'm very interested what they're gonna do for the intro. That's another thing that sort of I'm very intrigued of what they're gonna do editing wise, because the classic Star Wars scroll, which was taken by some other old TV show, I forget what it was or whatever, that sort of became the standard for Star Wars. I mean, as soon as you hear the music and it's like, din, 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 you're like, yeah, this is Star Wars. I know I'm watching a Star Wars film. So I heard that they said they wanted to make their own thing, own sort of credit thing for the standalone spin-off films. So I'm real interested to see what they decided to do. It would definitely be. I mean, I read in the news that the person who actually sort of created that credit or whatever for Star Wars was disappointed that they didn't actually use it for the standalone spin-offs. So I don't know what they did in place of it, so I'm actually really excited to see what they do. Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. Spoiler warning, okay? I just watched Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It was a great film. It was, from beginning to end, it was a great film. Well done characters, well done action, well done everything. Everything was just borderline good and great. It's the kind of movie where it's not about the ending or what's gonna happen next. It's about the journey. It's about getting there. It's about what happened getting to that point. Because we already know how this is gonna end. We just don't know the journey to get to that end. And after seeing it, wow. Gotta say, wow. It is definitely, I can see why they were like, this definitely feels like a war film. This definitely did feel like a war film. It was a Star Wars film, oh my gosh. And it's war heavy, you know? And I think I probably love the most about this film is it doesn't ruin Episode 4, A New Hope. It doesn't make that a worse film. It's still standalone on its own is a good film. This film doesn't interfere with that film, even though it was done many years later with newer technology, greater graphics, CGI, everything has improved. It doesn't ruin the fourth A New Hope. It gives A New Hope more meaning. It actually adds to the film that happens later on story-wise, which is exactly what a prequel should do. It actually adds to the experience of the fourth movie. Or the movie that comes afterwards. Like, man. Like, the line, I don't know if I'm probably paraphrasing a bit. A lot of rebels died to get this information. And that line has much more greater, because you've actually, at the end of this movie, you've experienced all the loss. You've experienced what they had to go through to get the Death Star plans. It's definitely the greatest of the prequels. Now let's talk what I talked about previously. The opening titles. Okay, I understand they wanted to do their own thing, but you started off with A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And after seeing that, I'm like, oh, I guess they did keep the original intro. Here it comes, and then I was waiting for the da 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 da, but you know, it never happened. And I was like, okay, I guess what they're gonna show is gonna there's gonna be credits going with it, and no credits. And then after seeing the intro, boom, Rogue One. With I think there was some music. I don't know, it wasn't as memorable as, you know, dun da da, but what can be more memorable than da 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 da, you know? I mean, the Rogue One title looked nice, okay, and I guess it was an okay segue. It's still a Star Wars story, it still has the same kind of looking yellow font, it's just tailored to Rogue One, and you see Star Wars in the back, so I guess it kind of works, okay, because you know it's a Star Wars story, but you know it's not a really, I mean it's an important one, but it's not a main, this is part of the episodic saga, which is Star Wars. And yeah, I guess they accomplished that with the intro, with the main titles. Man, that was a really good film. Oh yeah, there was something that I wanted to talk about in the previous one, but I forgot about it. And then when watching the movie, I was reminded, I was like, oh yeah, Warning, I will butcher names, because I'm not the good. I believe his name is Peter Cushing. He's no longer with us. He died in the 90s, and he plays, I don't know the specific name of the character, but he's one of you see him in episode 4. And they put his characters in this movie, and they did, I saw glances of headlines. I didn't actually look into it because I wanted to save until I'd actually seen the movie to actually look at the headlines, but they did a really good job of continuing his character, and just in the sense that it was a mixture. There was an actor there, and as well as CG to help make him look like his character, and I was actually pretty fine with it. I barely noticed for like there's one or two bits where you might really like it seemed odd or out of place, but for like 90%, I was like, okay, he's actually here. Wow, I can't believe they did a really good job with it. I'm surprised. It's like, you know, I mean, Benjamin Button had good CGI face technology, but you can tell it was still sort of trying to, like, it was really noticeable in that, and they did such a good job of blending it with what was happening on screen. I mean, you could still notice if you look at it, but it's gotten a lot better since since back then. Now it is definitely another tool in a filmmaker's arsenal, especially with big blockbuster movies, which has lots of money. You can do stuff like that. At the very end, the very last scene, you see Princess Leia, played by Carrie Fisher, who is unfortunately no longer with us, and they obviously made her look younger because her character, this is before episode 4, so they had to make her look like she did in episode 4, and they did a really good job with that too. I was like, wow, and I couldn't even tell if it was CG. So they did a really, really good job. I would have to rewatch that just to really look and see if I can see if it's that noticeable, but it's like, wow. I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with episode 8, and because this movie was a important part of the war in the grand scheme of Star Wars, so it makes sense they would have a spin-off movie being about how they got the plans to the Death Star for the Death Star. And now it's like, okay, what are they going to do in the future for spin-offs? Because they said they were thinking of an Obi-Wan movie, and a Han Solo movie, and it's like, what they could do with the Star Wars universe is pretty open, because you don't really necessarily need this big scope, big action, unless the story calls onto it. Rogue One called on it. That ending battle sequence is really well done, and it looks great. It's great to watch. It was really well done. Like, for example, if they did a Han Solo movie, you need to, like, you don't necessarily need these big epic action scenes. You just need, I mean, his character doesn't seem like he would be involved in these big action scenes as much. I mean, sometimes, but very little. Like, he sort of gets, if I remember correctly, in the original trilogy, he sort of gets caught up in this whole war thing. And so, seeing him when he's younger, I assume there would be no big scale action war set pieces or that. There's just probably little skirmishes or, you know, the adventures of Han Solo. Okay? You don't really need, even though it is Star Wars, to have these really big set pieces. And Rogue One called on it, and it executed it near perfect. I talked about Game Theory briefly, and they had a theory, and it was a really good theory. It's still a very good theory, which spoiler for the other video, it doesn't seem like that's what actually happened in the movie. So it makes me wonder if the reshoots were related to how they went around the ending with the characters, because when you watch the Game Theory thing, you'll know, and if you've seen Rogue One and you've seen the Game Theory on Rogue One, you will know what I'm talking about. I really think maybe the original ending, even though I didn't actually read what they changed, I just saw headlines. The original ending was a little more happier, so I was wondering if maybe they did get captured and was brainwashed into being part of the Empire, just like they were trying to do in A Force Awakens and various other examples. And that would explain the crew that's with Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, who's getting rid of all the Jedis in that place that I think Luke Skywalker set it up. That's still a really neat theory. I would still recommend, even if you didn't turn away to watch that video, and I just spoiled it for you, I would still very recommend seeing that video. Anyways, I'm looking forward to episode 8, and I wonder what they're gonna do with Carrie Fisher, because she's no longer with us. I heard in the news headlines that she finished filming all her scenes for episodes 8, so at the very least that movie's completed. But the question is, what did they do with the character script wise? And I can't wait to see episode 8. So I just watched Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Now, what movie will I watch next? Subscribe and you'll find out. Thank you, and good night, goodbye.